There you go. Okay. So let me know when you're ready. I'm gonna hit the clock.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. And clock.
Y'all can still see me, or is it just my screen?
Yeah, we see your screen. So you good. We can hear you though, just fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All
I
right,
just started the clock.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. The claim here is black Indians in the Americas prior to 1492 and after 1492. Any evidence, would be nice. Not necessarily saying it's there are black Indians, but my whole premise here is black Indians. If there was one distinct race of people that were black Indian, then they would have their own ethnic group. They do have, sort of like I guess maroon populations, but it's not necessarily a race. The Garifuna and the I guess they got another group in Latin America, South America. But these people are mixed. They have dual ancestry and maybe a little European ancestry. And also what's also the other premise here is what my stance is that these people have dual ancestry, that they're African and then they're also Native American, and that the people that are mixed, they haven't been here prior to 1492, and I'm basically a black African and Native American. I've taken DNA tests. I believe in DNA. The oldest DNA here in the Americas goes back probably about to Anzac. Oh, here, I got to show my screen. Here we go. Anzac 1, Paleo Indian. It's in Montana. Anzac 1 and also Lucia are some of the oldest remains in the Americas, and the DNA is entirely Amerindian. The haplogroups, the mitochondrial haplogroups for Native Americans are A. Let me actually look this up here real quick. I should have pulled that up. So this is all the mitochondria DNA haplogroups across the world. And as we can see, Africans fall under the mitochondrial haplogroup L, pretty much L1 to L3. I think there's also some other ones in there, like an L0 or whatnot. I meant to go to the actual image here. I'm sorry about that. So if we look at this image, we'll see that the haplogroups for Amerindians are A, B, C, D, and X. And the DNA of Native Americans and Africans and African Americans are entirely different, but the oldest remains in the Americas are entirely these haplogroups on the right here, A, B, C, D, and X. And these are just the mitochondrial group, mitochondrial DNA, meaning that it comes from the mother passed down, to child, and we're able to map the DNA, using DNA testing. DNA stands for, man, I can't even tell you right now, dinucleic acid or something.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Something like that. Not 100% sure. But pretty much if DNA didn't exist, or if it was a hoax, like the premise that a lot of people say that DNA testing is a hoax, but if DNA testing was a hoax, and there was no, then that would necessarily mean the DNA was a hoax as well, because
hey man, that ain't what that says.
Shut up, suppress your defecation.
How else are you going to be able to test DNA to see if it's true without testing it? The test actually proves that DNA exists. But to say that the DNA tests are a hoax is kind of in itself saying that DNA is a hoax as well. And let me share some more stuff here. And I know a lot of people say that the transatlantic slave trade was a hoax, or is in reverse, or was just not the numbers that they say there were. There's a lot of history here that goes into it. Hopefully I got a little bit more time. I'm trying to add this in here, but we got people like, how much time I got left?
That's it. Clock just went up.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Clock went up.
I'll get into that on the next one.
Okay. OSU has done a study of P. vivax malaria. Now, this is what it says. One of the most comprehensive analysis yet done of the ancient history of insect-borne disease concludes for the first time that malaria is not only native to the New World, but it has been present long before humans existed and has evolved through birds and monkeys, right? So mosquitoes carrying malaria of the genus Plasmodium, the type that causes human illness, were established in the New World at least 15 million years ago. Long before modern humans existed at the time, the disease infected various types of birds. This information should cause a rethink in relation to how direct-to-consumer genetic testing companies assign so-called sub-Saharan African ancestry. It's currently believed the Duffino allele has a frequency of almost 100% in sub-Saharan Africans. So basically, I mean, I'll give you a copy of this, but I'm gonna just basically paraphrase. It's right there on the screen what I'm saying. Now, if P. vivax malaria was found over here 15 million years, and in 1950, which the sources are at the bottom of the page there, in 1950, they found P. vivax malaria in basically the Duffino allele is protection against it. 1955, they found that the protection was in African Americans. That's called natural selection. That means that they already were here. So you even have this right here, the magazine right there. The cinchona tree, the bark is the cure of, it's called quinine. It's the cure. And right here, it tells you that Peru offers a branch of cinchona to science. Now look at the little black boy they got handing the cinchona to science. So, okay. Now, the cinchona, not cinchona, the Duffino allele is the C allele, which is the RS2814778. This is in African Americans. And according to snitpedia.com, it tells you right here, it's phenotype. So what are we really saying here? Now, I'm not one of those people that deny DNA. I love DNA. This is one of my fortes. Now, not to mention the natural selection that we have this in us, they use this C allele to overexert the sub-Saharan African DNA, which you're gonna see in the next round. So this is 23andMe saying this. So about 90% of sub-Saharan Africans and close to 70% of African Americans, but I thought we were the same people, are Duffy negative, meaning they have 2 copies of a particular version of the Duffy antigen gene that prevents the protein from being made in red blood cells. Duffy negativity has previously been associated with resistance to one strain of malaria. So why would we have this protection against P. vivax malaria? They were not studying sub-Saharan Africans. They were studying American Negroes. Why would we have that?
Well, human evolution. I know Mr. Dakota. How do you pronounce it?
It's Nashoba, Moreno Nashoba. That's his name.
Nashoba. Okay. All right, Mr. Nashoba here, brother Nashoba. He got into some malaria that was found. Some traces of malaria found from 15 million years ago. And he tried to make a correlation between, that time frame from 15 million years ago to today's age. And I'm not necessarily, I know he said he likes to, he likes the science. But if we actually look at the science, I don't know where he's going with the correlation. But I know he did mention that if African Americans and Africans are the same people, then why is the Duffy negative gene higher in Africans?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
as opposed to African Americans. And if you know, a lot of us are aware that should be aware that we got some Caucasian DNA in our blood from, you know, the transatlantic slave trade and all the stuff that we faced after arriving on the shores. If we look at the history, like Malcolm X said, you know, or Malcolm X's actual grandfather on his mom's side, his grandfather, a great grandfather, is actually a white man that raped his grandmother or his great grandmother. And that's the reason why Malcolm X is the complexion and had the hair that he had.
What are you talking about?
And that's actually the case in a lot of people. And the average African American DNA is anywhere from like 4% to anywhere from 24%, with it being higher on the West Coast. And the lower averages, the lower Caucasian averages being mainly within the Gullah Geechee people of like South Carolina. I'm not trying to look at average African American male height. I'm not trying to look that up. But yeah, if we look at the average DNA, it's anywhere from 4% to 24%, with it being significantly higher on the West Coast. And that explains for why the Duffy negative would be higher in Africans, continental Africans, as more so than diasporic Africans, because we would then inherit more so Caucasian genes as opposed to the African resistant, the tropical, you know, malaria genes, because malaria is very prevalent within a tropical environment. And if we look at the environment of North America, it's a harsh, cold environment. And, you know, people throughout time, through adaptation, adapted to the environment. And, you know, that's pretty much where, you know, you get skin color from.
I'm so damn confused.
And that's not to necessarily mean that there's not dark-skinned Native Americans. There are, and that's actually another thing I'll probably get into on the next thing. But you know, it's not necessarily as much so in the population that you'll have all Native Americans having dark skin. With just, you know, just I say not necessarily 100% of them.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro.
And basically, if we look up human evolution, we will see that 15 million years ago that we were barely even at this point. Where is it? We were probably about advanced Australopithecus. So that was probably about what, 8 million years ago, 7 million years ago. So we was probably at this stage 15 million years ago. But the thing is that the DNA, the oldest DNA in the Americas, is going to be Anzac 1, and it's going to be Lucia, having some of the oldest DNA. It's not going to go back 15 million years ago.
I don't know what your name is. I don't know what your question is.
Pangea is also, you know, 450 million years ago, and humans weren't even walking the earth around that time. Mr. Nashaba kind of made a hasty generalization and kind of took some information and applied it to where it some scientific information and applied it to African Americans, and it did, or Africans, and it didn't really. It's not.
What?
I don't know where he was going with that. I never said that anything about Africans having more and stuff like that. That's not what I was saying. I'm saying that it's natural selection. That why would we have a protection against P. vivax malaria. It's been over, like, I don't know why he went into evolution. He would have to answer the question of who started evolution, who did that. And as far as Malcolm X's phenotype, there's plenty of people who have red complexion who don't even have white in them. I mean, you have Khoisan, you even have people in Africa who have that kind of phenotype. But that's besides the point. And I'm speaking of Duffy, Nell, and American Negroes. They say that malaria's protection does not happen outside of sub-Saharan Africa. These people were not studying, they were not studying Africans, they were studying American Negroes. So he said as far as the oldest haplogroup, I don't know where he was going with Pangea and stuff like that, I have no idea. But the oldest haplogroup was found over here in South Carolina. It was found, it's the Adam Perry, and it's 338,000 years old. So that was found here. So I don't know where he was going with that. I know he did say something about Anzac boy or something like that. So he said that no Africans were over here, but look at this screen here. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that, but if you look at the Southwest on the map there, like over here, if you look at that, if you pay attention to the ASW, ACB, these are the so-called omic trade routes. AO is considered an African haplogroup, like he just said. When you go to the admixture American, you see admixture of American Indian and African, and high counts of African there, right over there. This whole thing here. So why would that be? These are she trading routes, or OMEC as they call them today, trading routes. So now, when we go down here, he showed something that was like 32,000 BP. So my question to you would be, how old is your tribe? How long have you guys been on this land? Because if you guys cannot find anything that can go further back than this, you guys are not necessarily indigenous here. You guys came here when somebody was here. And I mean that with all due respect, because all of these are peer reviewed. And you have pygmy skulls that are 40,000 years old. So who are you in relation to them? How much time do I have?
Okay, so you got 10 seconds before 3 minutes. Do you need some extra? Do you need a extra minute or two?
No.
Okay. All right. I will stop that there. You can repeat your question also for Mr. Blue Horse if you need it.
Okay. Well, I actually had like two questions. My first question was who started evolution? My second question was, how long have your people been in America?
Okay. All right. I was getting into Pangea because there's a lot of conscious people online that talk about Pangea, and they talk about people existed at the time of Pangea. It says it broke apart approximately 335 to about 200 million years ago. At this time, it was at the beginning of the Jurassic, at the end of the Triassic. Now, if we look at human evolution, and I'm gonna get into who started human evolution. We weren't even at this stage, the Pilopithecus stage, at the point whenever this Pangea started breaking apart. And our oldest ancestor actually is going to be Purgatorius.
Gotta tell you, getting names right is not my thing.
And this is and even our oldest, I can't even spell. I got a different keyboard. So Purgatorius is going to be our oldest ancestor we could go back to. And pretty much it looks like, Purgatorius looks like a squirrel, but also like an ape-like primate. So it says primate-like rat. But even Purgatorius is not even older than Pangea.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And that's pretty much where our oldest thing we could go back to of primate evolution. And evolution has been around in a lot of cultures before Europeans coming into the continent of Africa. It was very prominent within a lot of cultures. I mean, to a certain extent, you know, the idea was around during the golden age of Islam, and around like 1000 AD. So you know, Darwin is credited with Darwinian evolution, but the idea of evolution was around before that. And I'm gonna pull up a slide of the Muslim idea of evolution, and this was during the golden age. So this was, you know, it says golden age 8th century to 14th century, but they had their own idea of evolution in Islam about 800 years before, 700 years before Darwin. So this is if it pulls up.
What are you talking about? I'm so damn confused.
I mean, I don't know why he's talking about evolution. I have no idea. He didn't answer my question.
Yeah. All right, Albert Perry. All right, Albert Perry carried DNA. He said that Albert Perry had the oldest DNA in the Americas. But how could Albert Perry have the oldest DNA in the Americas whenever he's still alive? The thing is that it's taken out of context whenever reading some of these articles. So Albert Perry, we look at this new first one. Albert Perry, the father of all men, is 35,000 years old. But to the best of my recollection is Albert Perry had DNA that showed a trace origin of archaic humans that we evolved from. And this is, 35. This one says 34,000 years old. So he had this trait in here that nobody else had. Let's see if I could find out here.
If I may retain my liquids here for one moment, I'd like to continue the redundance of my quote-unquote intestinal tract.
Let me go down to the end. It's usually that, they have the conclusion at the very end. So the first anatomically modern human fossils date back only 195,000 years. So Perry's Y chromosome lineage spent from the rest of humanity long before our species appeared, it says. So what are the implications? One possibility is that Perry's Y chromosome may have been inherited from an archaic human population that has since gone extinct. If that's the case, then sometime within the last 195,000 years, anatomically modern humans interbred with an ancient African human. There is some supporting evidence for this scenario. In 2011, researchers examined human fossils from a Nigerian site called Evolutionary. I don't know how it's pronounced. Fossils showed a strange mix of ancient and modern features, which also suggests interbreeding between modern and archaic humans. The Cameroon village with the unusual genetic signature is right on the border with Nigeria and is not far away. So it's pretty much what a lot of people are doing here is taking this this article out of context and saying that he has the oldest DNA, but it traces all the way back to Africa, and that's pretty much where it's being taken out of context here.
What are you talking about? I'm so damn confused.
And it's basically linking his DNA and shows traces of archaic human DNA that they didn't know about before, because right now it's pretty much just Denisovan, Neanderthal, and Homo erectus that are the oldest known. And then also have a lot of other people like to share that the Polynesians, they have a ghost ancestor or something, a ghost DNA. I'm sorry, I looked at some wrong stuff here. So this is a popular article online as well. Polynesians having DNA of an unknown human species. So I would relate this back to the Albert Perry news article, and this pretty much just says Neanderthal and this event isn't the whole story here, and that there's some other archaic human population. And just to be clear, these people exist in the Americas. They didn't exist in the Americas. I'm getting into I guess the out of Africa theory. And that's to say, none of these ghost populations were in the Americas. And the oldest, I'm gonna get into Lucia now.
1 minute.
Lucia is the oldest, one of the oldest known. Now we're gonna get into the phenotypical analysis. Now phenotypical wise, it said at first, where's the explorer here, or not the explorer? I'm sorry, the scientist here. Nevis said that at first thought it was the skull was Negroid at first, but went back to do DNA testing and said that it was entirely Amerindian, being under the mitochondrial DNA haplogroup D, which would have been the biggest DNA in her DNA, biggest haplogroup in her DNA. And if we look, this is North America. So I'm getting into the trade routes. How can there be really too much trade whenever we got a big ice cap on the Americas during the Ice Age?
What are you talking about? I'm so damn confused. I don't know what your name is. I don't know what your question is. Oh, you a loco, what? Did you just start speaking Spanish in the middle of all of this?
Okay. Now this picture here, it says that Saint Mary of the Goodwins was the patron saint of navigators and a favorite of Christopher Columbus. The altar painting dates from shortly after Columbus died and features what is considered the first and most accurate portrait of Columbus. It also thought to be the first painting of American Aborigines done in Europe. The Virgin's cape seems to protect everyone under it, including the Americans. Look how they are depicting the Americans. These are Black people with afros. Now, he likes DNA just like I do. Now, this right here is from 23andMe. This is, now as it appears that these people have sub-Saharan African DNA, 79.9 and 91, right? But when we go and we click on scientific details, this is what happens. Although we've detected Nigerian DNA in your ancestral breakdown, we have not identified more specific locations that your recent ancestors may have called home. Now, this happens not just on Nigeria, but all of them. It happens on all of them. So how are they telling these people that they're Nigerian or even African? It doesn't make any sense. Now, when we go on their site and we see what that means, it says, if we are not able to detect recent ancestry from a location with confidence, we report this to you as not detected. Now, I have many conversations with these people, audio, video, you name it. But this is what I'll share here. This is Philip from 23andMe. Please note, now when I asked him about the not detected, this is what he said. Please note that not detected indicates that we are not able to detect a match for this location. It is not unusual to not match a recent ancestor location. This means that at this time, we were not able to detect recent ancestry from that location with at least 30% confidence. Okay, I see. So that means no ancestry could be found in that area. He says, keep in mind that the information that you are seeing is the recent ancestor locations. Recent ancestor locations are calculated and assigned by comparing your DNA to reference individuals with known ancestries from 150 plus regions around the world. Then he goes on to say, yes. So what they're doing is over assigning sub-Saharan African to Black people, saying that we come from a different part of the world when we don't even match these people. This is the map, and there's no disrespect to Africans. This is the map right here on 23andMe. Notice all these people in America, even South America, then we get to Africa. Lonely than a motherfucker. No African DNA on there at all. So it doesn't make any sense. Now he keeps saying DNA and stuff like that. That's fine. But we got to understand something. DNA is statistical guesses. This is two twins. The twins shared their DNA with a computational biology group at Yale, which verified that the DNA they sent off was statistically pretty much identical. When questioned for the story, 23andMe noted that its analysis are statistical estimates, a phrase that customers should bear in mind. So DNA can only get you but so far. Now, this is the L1 haplogroup right here that he talked about, and the source is right there, NCBI. More than 1/3 of L1C haplotypes in our database belong to African Americans, and few of them show matches with continental Africans. Now, this goes into what he was talking about the out of Africa theory, which I'm gonna answer that soon. The great majority of the remainder of L1C comes from Central Africans, with a few in the West and Southeast. There are virtually none in the East and South. We don't match East and South. There's a reason that we share genetic affinities with some Africans, because a lot of us did go over there, and some of them came over here, which I'm gonna answer that with the AOO haplogroup. A West African origin for the African American L1C types is unlikely, because American types do not match with the West African ones, this region being the best represented in the database. Okay, I read that already. Our networks confirmed the large numbers of L1C and L3 types present in African Americans that lack matches in the existing mitochondrial DNA database for Africa. We don't share the same genetic affinities with these people. So then you got right here, the reconciliation between Britannica and her daughter, America. That is a Black person right there, right here. So why does Europe have all of these things, but over here we don't? This book right here even shows you, first page, Black Indian. These are Black people. That's a Black person right there. These two are Black people. So then this book here lets you know, basically saying that American savages were Black just like the Black Europeans. But that's all I had to show anyway. How old are your people upon this land?